Hey guys, welcome. So we're going to be going over functions, just in general, very simple functions. So for a function, what is a function, right? So I have the definition right here. Is a rule that assigns to each element in a set A, so A is our first set, one and only one element in set B. So set B is our second, right? So to make this simple, this is kind of a little bit, how do you say, hard to understand, right? It's pretty much straightforward, but I'm going to give you another example. It's going to make it easier. So right here. So A, this is our A axis, and then B is our B axis. So let's just say A equals Y. So if A equals Y, that must mean Y is equal to A. So this is our Y axis, and X is our X axis, correct? So we have Y equals 2x plus 1 as an example. So this basically states that if I were to plug in something for my X, I would have a Y value. If this is simplified down, right? So we're going to do a few examples on how this works. Just give me a moment. Okay. So we see this, right? Let the function f be defined by the rule f of x equals 2x squared minus x plus 1. And you need to find these values, okay? Okay. So for a, so let's define what f of x is first. So f of x equals f of some value, right, gives you your y. Okay, so f of x is basically the answer to your x value. Okay, so if we go back to this paper, y is basically f of x. Okay, so f of x is a function of x, if that makes sense. Okay, so for a, f of 1. So we see right here, our x is inside the parentheses. So it gives us this function. So let's write down this function. F of x equals 2 times x squared minus x plus 1, right? So f of x, we just plug in our 1 for x, and since all x's are the same, you plug in 1 for every single x. So f of 1, right, because you're plugging into x, equals 2 times 1 squared minus 1 plus 1, right? I just plugged it in. Now, these two are going to cancel. You distribute the negative plus 1, that equals 0, so that cancels out. Now we have 1 squared, right? 1 squared is just 1 times 2 is just 2. So this is our answer for A. Alright, so what if we have a negative? What would we do then? Alright, well, we would basically do the same thing. So f of negative 2, we would just plug that in for x. Since all x's are equal, we put it in for all x's. Equals 2 times negative 2 squared minus negative 2 plus 1. Alright, I fell victim to this. So we have x right here, right? And there's a negative right next to it. I know a lot of people, they put it in right here. So they would think this was just a negative 2, and then they would put this as a plus. That is completely wrong. You want to put in negative 2 just for x. Anything outside of that, you just leave it by itself. So this negative right here corresponds with this negative. Okay? So f of negative 2 equals negative 2 squared, which is just 4. Negative times negative is a positive, right? So 2 times 4. Negative times a negative is a positive, right? So you got plus 2 plus 1. So we have f of negative 2 equals 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 2 plus 1 is 3. So f of negative 2 equals 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, right? So that is our answer for A, right? Shouldn't be that hard. Should be really easy. Okay, so C, we have f of A, right? So what do we do when we have a constant in here? What is A? I don't know what to do. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. So A, you're going to do it exactly how you did the numbers, right? So you're going to have f of A. You're just plugging A in for x. You're just switching them up. Easy. 2 times A squared minus A plus 1, right? F of A equals 2. Now for A, you can get rid of the parentheses. This is fine just how it is, but I'm going to simplify it more a little bit. Just get rid of those parentheses. A squared minus A plus 1. Now, a lot of people would think they can just subtract A from A squared. That is completely wrong. They cannot do that. Since there's a negative right here, it links it together. You cannot do that. You can't separate it. Right? So this would be your answer for C. Right? Alright, now for D. Now D is kind of tricky. You're gonna have to know how to factor to do F, right? Don't worry, I'm gonna show you right now how to do that. So you have F. Now the same thing we've been doing with all of them, you just plug it in for x. So of A plus H equals 2 times A plus H squared, right? Minus A plus H plus 1. So this A plus H squared, right? Well, this is basically A plus H times A plus H, right? So you're going to have 2 A plus H times A plus H, right? This is basically saying this. There's 2 of these multiplying each other. Minus A plus H plus 1. So we have F of A plus H equals, now we have 2 times A is A squared plus A times H is AH. Now we go to the second term, H times A, AH again, and then H times H, right? So plus H squared minus A plus H plus 1, right? So we simplify this down more, equals, so we distribute the 2, so this 2 is going to go for every term, so we're going to have 2 A, my bad, that's a 2 right there, plus 2 AH plus 2 AH plus H squared, right? Now you're going to have parentheses here, minus A plus H plus 1. F of A plus H equals, now all these 2's, do we have anything that we can like cram together? We can condense it more. Well, yes, we do. We have these 2 terms. They're exactly the same, so we can put them together. So we have right here 2A squared plus, so 2AH plus 2AH equals 4AH, right? Plus H squared, right? So we have that term minus A plus H plus 1, right? So we basically have all these, and we have to minus it from here. Now, do we have any A's just by itself? Well, we do, but it's multiplying by H, so we can't really do that. Now, H, do we have any terms that we can take away H from? We have H squared, but that's multiplying, so we can't do that. It's multiplying by itself, right? So we can't, looks like we can't condense this anymore. So this is going to be our answer, right? That was a little bit complicated. Okay, so now we're going to go to this one right here. This is another example just in case your professor or teacher gives you a word problem. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You should be able to get it. You guys are smart people. A lot of smart people out there. So, ThermoMaster manufactures an indoor-outdoor thermometers. Management estimates profit in dollars realizable by ThermoMaster in the manufacture and sale of X thermometers. Per week is this function. Find thermometers weekly profit if its level of production is. Now it's asking you to solve these two. 1,000 thermometers per week, 2,000 thermometers per week, right? So we need to get rid of irrelevant information that we don't need, okay? So we can basically get rid of this right here. We don't need to know that. Management estimates profit in dollars, right? That is very important, right? So this function represents dollars, right? So px equals dollars, right? Sales, so X thermometers, so X equals thermometers a week, right? So these two are very important information. This is our function, right? So that's also very important. Just gonna write down, so p of x equals negative 0.001 x squared plus 8x minus 5,000. Right, so now we're getting to the really good stuff right here. So it's basically asking us 1,000 thermometers per week and 2,000 thermometers per week. We need to find that, right? So we basically have to plug this in for x, right? So it wants to know the profit. So we know profit is the independent variable of x, right? So let's do this. This is very simple. So since we know px equals dollars and it's asking us for the profit, we're going to put in 1,000 for x and solve for that, for p of x, right? So p of 1,000 equals negative 0.001 times 1,000 squared, right? Plus 8 times 1,000 minus 5,000. Okay, so let me grab my calculator real quick. Because, alright, so we have p of 1,000, right, equals, now 1,000 squared, what do you think that is? Squared, whoa, it's a huge number. Okay, so we're going to have negative 0.001, and that looks like it's going to be 1 million, right? So I'm just going to put 1m for 1 million, because it's going to take up all this space, plus 8 times 1,000, that's really easy, you just multiply 8 by 1, so that's 8,000 minus 5,000, right? So, simplify this more. 1 million times negative 0.001, right? So we have a calculator right here. So we're going to put in 1 million times negative 0.001. So that's our answer. Negative 1,000. Okay. Now we're gonna bring down this plus 8,000 minus 5,000. Super easy. We know that's 3,000. P of 1,000 equals negative 1,000 plus 3,000, which is $2,000. We know this is dollars because if we go back, f of x equals dollars, right? So that would be our answer for number A. Okay, so for b, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to put p of 2,000 equals negative 0.001 times 2,000 squared, 8 times 2,000 minus 5,000, right? So I can go ahead and clear that out. So you basically simplify this down. So you have 2,000 squared. So you have p negative 0.001, right, times, and we always do this first, so we're going to have 4 million, right, so I'm going to put 4m right there, plus 8 times 2 is 16, 1, 2, 3 zeros, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right, minus 5,000. So p of 2,000 equals 4 million times negative 0.001. So I'm going to do this times 1. So we have negative 4,000 plus 16,000 minus 5,000, right? So 16,000 minus 5,000 is 11,000. 4 plus, right? So 11 minus 4, it's 7. So we're going to have 7,000. So P 2,000 equals 7,000.